Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Well, we just entered a much lighter and very simple and joyful section of Brahma's prayers, having completed the first 30 verses, which are Sambandha Gyan and giving truth about Krishna in that sense. We are now discussing chapter 14. Let's see here. Text 32. Is that right? No. Yes. Text 32. Okay. Text 31 reads, O Almighty Lord, how greatly fortunate are the cows and ladies of Vrindavan, the nectar of whose breast milk you have happily drunk to your full satisfaction, taking the form of their calves and children. All the Vedic sacrifices performed from time immemorial up to the present day have not given you as much satisfaction. So if you want to please Krishna, become one of Krishna's mothers in Vrindavan, or a cow. If you want to satisfy Krishna, but of course, there's 10 verses in a row that are extolling the virtue of the residents of Vrindavan. We heard that the previous verse, text 30, speaks of receiving even a fraction of mercy from Krishna. One can understand him. Specifically, commentary says he's not asking for the mercy to get this situation like these residents of Vrindavan feeling not qualified or whatever the reason, and rather he's just extolling their virtues. But we're doing the same. Extolling the virtues of the residents of Vrindavan has a natural outcome of wishing their association, or even more specifically, wishing love for Krishna like them. That's the stimulation of ecstatic love that comes from hearing about these wonderful personalities. Sanatana Goswami's commentary on this verse, text 31. Brahma prays to have bhakti similar to that of the people of Braja, or to serve the lotus feet, since everything should end in sweetness, with the intention of praising the Lord by describing their greatness. He praises them in 10 verses. Now, we also heard that the entire chapter, in addition to emphasizing the position of bhakti, it's specifically as well describing Krishna's form. And of course, Krishna's form means all the rest, his pastimes, his loving exchanges, but the focus is Krishna's transcendental form and love for him in that capacity. This is Braja Leela. How amazing! Aho! This is most auspicious. The cows and women have reached the highest success possible. Ati dhanya. They satisfied you by giving their breast milk, ramanyaha, to satisfy you, yad triptaye, to satisfy you. O most perfect Lord, Vibho, you drank the milk and drank it to the highest degree, Ativa. And it gave you great joy, Muda. And you drank directly by being the calves and cowherd boys. You did this from previously until today, Adyapi. So we know the reference is Brahma is aware that 1 year has passed on earth time, although but a moment has passed in his time. The moment meaning the time it took to go check out the cave, and then come back. 1 year passed. But he knows that during that 1 year what Krishna did on earthly time. And finally, Jiva Goswami's Krama Sandarbha comments, very simple. Oh, Almighty Lord, how greatly fortunate are the cows and ladies of Vrindavan, the nectar of whose breast milk you have happily drunk to your full satisfaction, taking the form of their calves and children. All the Vedic sacrifices performed from time immemorial up to the present day have not given you as much satisfaction. Paragraph. One might ask, who among the cowherds is suitable to associate with you? Not only do they receive such good fortune, no one else ever received such fortune. All the Vedic sacrifices have not given you such satisfaction. That is your greatness. You remain in Braja at all times among those inhabitants. And we'll begin text 32. We've heard this one referenced many, many, many times. It begins aho bhagyam. Text 32. Saying it twice. So the sweetness of Krishna is appreciated even more. It's astonishing in comparison to having a clear understanding of his greatness and the opulence and majestic feature. That is to say, he who is the source of everything. And we heard so much about how he's the source of everything, etc., in the universe and in the spiritual realm and everything. He's taking this position, subordinate position, loving exchange with cows and elder gopis, mothers, because of their love for him. Then this verse is not just the mothers and the cows, it's everybody in Vrindavan. Braja, Okasam, all the inhabitants of Brajabhumi. Nanda is mentioned first, and then all the residents of Vrindavan. How greatly fortunate are Nanda Maharaj, the cowherd men, and all the other inhabitants of Brajabhumi. There is no limit to their good fortune, because the absolute truth, the source of transcendental bliss, the eternal supreme Brahman, has become their friend. So the Sanskrit word is mitra, for friend. And there's different terminologies for friend. This is not specifically describing the rasa of Sakya rasa. It's describing an intimate, we'll hear from the commentary, but an intimate, warm, loving position or relation. That is to say, the elder gopas and gopis, they also have a relationship with Krishna of mitra. It can be used specifically for the cowherd boys And in a more broad sense, it's all the residents of Vrindavan have this friendship with Krishna. He's their best friend. And the BBT commentary just says, this translation is quoted from Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 6, text 149. And there's apparently no purport there, so it's no purport here. Here's what Vishwanath writes. After praising the Brajbasis with Ragatmika Vatsalya Prem, that's the ladies and the men, Brahma, in praise of those with Ragatmika Sakya Prem, Ragatmika. Anyone not know that term? Would like an explanation? Ragatmika. You don't know. You'd like to hear. It's a term that's used a lot, or it probably has its origins elsewhere, but Rupa Goswami uses it a lot in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And it indicates those residents of Vrindavan that are eternally situated with raga, and they're ragatmika devotees, eternal associates. Whatever the rasa, it's spontaneous, like raga nuga, spontaneous raga, and eternally perfected souls that take part in Krishna's pastimes. And the Rupa Goswami's teaching is for us to come to that stage of spontaneous love.
You can make as many videos as you want. And
when one is qualified and so forth, then one must, there's not an option, one must become a follower of one of those ragatmika devotees.
So, let's hear from the
of course,
Doodly
and they're
creator,
in different
Brad,
rasas
to see
and
why
so
Doodly
forth.
is so easy to use and why
So
you
this
should
is
grab this offer
ragatmika
right now.
Sakya.
Hi, I'm Brad Callen, and in this video, I'm going to show you how anyone can
Brahma
quickly and
praises
easily create
all
doodle videos,
those
just like the one you're watching.
relishing intimate relationships with the Lord. He repeats the phrase aho bhagyam twice to indicate his extreme bliss and astonishment. The use of the word
Be honest.
Ananda in this verse indicates Brahman, described in the Shrutis as Satyam, Vijnanam, Anandam, Brahma. I looked up where is that found. It's not, I couldn't find where in the Shrutis it's found, but it's somewhere in the Shrutis. Vishwanath knows. So Ananda, again, is indicating the bliss of the spiritual realm. Not just the bliss of the Brahman effulgence, because that's nothing compared to the bliss of loving exchange with the Supreme Lord.
Do you really want to watch a video that looks like this? There's a good reason why presenters use images and visualizations while they talk, because it's what makes people pay attention.
The word parama
with a doodly animation, your audience will pay much more attention than just you speaking to a camera.
Paramananda,
much more professional.
To indicate that Krishna is the basis of Brahman. The word Purna. Purna means complete, like Purnima, full moon. The word Purna indicates that Krishna is distinct from the avatar forms who are also Brahma Swarup. He is the friend or Mitra, but not a temporary friend, an eternal friend, Sanatana, of Sri Dham and others. From this eternal friendship, it is also understood that Sri Dham and others are also eternal. If I make it, so they use some logic. If I make a statement, quote, he is an excellent Brahmana, implied is that because of his Brahmanical qualities being excellent, the person's excellence is also understood. Similarly, in speaking of the eternality of the friendship, the friends are also understood to be eternal. This must be explained, since the word mitra connotes simply an ordinary friend. All the inhabitants of Braja, ruled by Nandagopa Brakaukasam, down to the birds and beasts, were fortunate. What then to speak of Nanda himself and his cowherd men? Who can speak of the fortune of those who became the friend of Paramananda Brahma Sanatana? Be described? Who can describe that fortune? It is indescribable. The Gopas themselves say, elders, O Nanda, all of us in Braja have uncontrollable attraction for your son. He also has natural affection for us. What is the cause? This is from chapter 26. It comes right after the Govardhan Leela. They're approaching Nanda. Who is this boy? We have affection for him that's just even more than our own sons. And he has affection for us like that too. Can you please explain? What's the cause? The cause is he is Purna, Brahma. The inhabitants of Braja give bliss to the form of supreme bliss, and the inhabitants become full of bliss. Lord Brahma expresses extreme astonishment at this exchange of love. Aho bhagyam, aho bhagyam. And last is Jiva Goswami's commentary. This is a lot easier than the other section of philosophy, isn't it? Jiva Goswami writes, the description of your glories in the spiritual parts of the Vedas is not actually suitable. Understanding that his glories are completely different, Brahma speaks in astonishment. Oh, or aho, he is astonished. The residents of Vrindavan's good fortune is inconceivable. He repeats the phrase with boldness to show their extreme good fortune and indicate his still greater astonishment. Quote, why do you only show astonishment in the beginning? You should say, what is astonishing about them? So he follows. What is astonishing about, or what is the good fortune of Nanda and the other inhabitants of Braja, including the animals and birds? Krishna, who is the greatest bliss, gave them prema, which is deserved by natural friends. They were the objects of his prema. Now, right, we normally think of prema going the other direction, from us towards the object, Krishna. But the aho is how Krishna finds within his devotees in Braja, his prema, reaching a maximum. Quoting again chapter 26, similar, same verse, translated a little differently. Dear Nanda, how is it that we and all the other residents of Braja cannot give up our constant affection for your son? And how is it that he is so spontaneously attracted to us? Loving exchange on this most exalted level. Anandam hints at the Shruti, which says, Vijnanam Anandam Brahma. This gives the reference, Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. He is knowledge and bliss. Vijnanam Anandam Brahma. He is knowledge and bliss. There is a little bliss, and there are many givers of prema in other forms of the Lord. But bliss itself is not the doer in those cases, but bliss itself, namely Krishna, is the giver of prema to the people of Braja. This is to be known from the Shruti alone. Interesting. Parama, combined with Ananda, means extraordinary sweetness by nature, like the highest sweetness in various degrees of sweetness in sugar candy. This is good fortune and astonishing. There is something else which is astonishing. This bliss is eternal. Someone may have a little amount of bliss, but that is not eternal. These cowherds had eternal bliss. Why is that? It is because he is the greatest. Parabrahman gives Paramananda. And a Shruti verse is quoted, Ata kasmat uchate Brahma brimhayati cha. Namely, Brahman is great and gives greatness to others. That's Krishna. So, all of that arduous discussion about the opulence of Krishna outside of Braja is now superseded by the greatness of Krishna within Braja. That becomes inconsequential, and what becomes consequential is the love exchanges with Krishna. He is great and gives great to others, and that greatness is this love, prema. He gives love to them, and they stimulate his love. Very special place, very special kind of exchange. And so the Bhagavatam and Lord Chaitanya are taking us there. We just have to say, yes, let's go. I mean, we have to live our lives accordingly. There are different philosophers and different philosophies, even amongst Vaishnava traditions, what to speak of outside Vaishnava traditions in the world. So, leaving over to the side the atheistic ones, and there's lots of those, even the theistic ones. The understanding, this very, very special understanding that Srimad Bhagavatam gives, specifically through the medium of our disciplic succession, Lord Chaitanya specifically, and the disciplic succession following him. It's so sweet. It's so special. If somebody hears this little narration, maybe you could identify privately who it is. Someone, I think it's someone here in Naperville, from, my memory serves me right, they're from Karnataka. They came to America, they became a devotee, and their mother or grandmother or somebody like that, since her childhood, read Srimad Bhagavatam daily, like a lot. Every day. And so this devotee made a gift to her mother or grandmother, whoever, of Srila Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam with the Bhaktivedanta purports. And her grandmother, read it over and over and over, and then said to her daughter or granddaughter, since childhood, I've been reading Bhagavatam every day, and I had such love for the Bhagavatam, but now I understand that I never really understood it. I had some attraction for it but I never really understood it. And now I understand it. So attraction for Krishna is made complete by understanding more completely who he is. And there's these two sides, minimally. The opulent side and the sweetness side. So that the sweetness is easy to be attracted to, but how to understand that sweetness in fullness so that it's aho bhagyam. And when that door opens, the attraction takes on a whole other dimension. So we need both. We need this, sambandha gyan. Bhagavad Gita gives a synopsis, using Prabhupada's words, a synopsis of the bhakti process. We are pointed in the right direction. And other tools or methodologies for understanding the source of everything, they're also indicated in different ways. But the Srimad Bhagavatam is not exhaustive, but it's a far more comprehensive picture of the bhakti process and what are distractions from the bhakti process, and stimulations for attraction to the culmination of the bhakti process. It's life's work. Reading Srimad Bhagavatam and becoming absorbed in understanding it and living by it. It's a life's work. But it carries us to the spiritual world. Okay, let's see if there's some discussion. Nice section, huh?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. It is really sweet to hear this.
A lot easier than the other parts.
Yes. So my thought was going that we hear that Krishna loves us. Krishna is our ultimate well-wisher. And there seems to be this block for me where when I see so many of my anarthas, I've become very anartha conscious rather than Krishna conscious. So because there's so much more of that and less of Krishna consciousness, that weighs a lot more in my dealings and my wanting to clear them. So I'm just, struggling on how to
go forward
and not be stuck there, because that seems to be a really big block for myself.
Bhakti requires faith. It's a foundation. And faith, the foundational faith, should tell you that I was not even aware of these so many impurities before taking up the bhakti process earnestly. I'm making progress. Now I'm aware of so many things, and there's more things I'm sure I'm not yet aware of. The bhakti process is working. So then the next stage of faith is continue with faith in applying the process. Because the intention of the process is exactly what you want. The obstacle, one of the obstacles is false ego. I have to remove this stuff. We have to make an effort, but we can't remove this stuff. It's overwhelming. But that's the reality of the situation. There's stuff. Who knows how many lifetimes worth? And moving forward means place your faith in the forward direction. Aside from your own internal, there's also external, relationships and, the craziness of the world that we're in and everything, social, political, economic, complexities, uncertainties. So there's all that stuff out there, then there's all this stuff in here, and it doesn't get better. It gets, the external gets, Kali Yuga goes wild. So it can seem overwhelming, and when it gets stuck in, how do I solve that problem and that problem? There's so many problems, the outside ones, then the inside ones. So the feeling overwhelmed is caused by forgetfulness of Krishna. Your consciousness has become elevated due to the bhakti process to be aware of so many things and aware of solutions to those things. So now move forward. It's faith. So your faith has to go up a notch. It's not you, it's the deliverer, the merciful one. That's bhakti. This discussion from before, we're dependent. You remember that discussion, I'm sure. We're dependent. That's okay. We are. We have free will to choose to go beyond or not, and it's not your choice to do it. It's your choice to make effort and receive mercy. This thing that we heard the other day in the earlier verses, mercy makes knowledge arise. When there's knowledge, then comes worship, and worship comes realization. So you're not at the realized stage yet. So I'm using the word faith, but faith that there's abundant mercy ready to be bestowed upon you. That's the hope. That's the faith. That's bhakti. Your bhakti will grow and grow. That's exactly what we heard. Faith, mercy will grow and grow. Nurture it with faith in the merciful one, and you make your efforts. Yes, it's not dependent upon your efforts. Dependent upon your efforts plus mercy. It's faith. So look to the light instead of the darkness. Tamasi ma jyotirgama, right? Anyone else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So following this ragatmika bhaktas, so how to follow those bhaktas, like understand that reading Bhagavatam, but does it come automatically in later stages when we advance in bhakti, or we have to
do something
about them? Yeah.
You heard the discussion before about what does the word automatically mean. Did you hear that discussion? Can you forward to everybody in our reading group or listening group what this automatically, little essay of Purijan? In short, it means in natural sequence. In that sense, automatic. Because I'm just getting a little bit stuck on the automatically. But it's not mechanical automatically, but it's a natural maturing automatically, natural growth, like a seed fructifying is natural. Yes, there is something to do, and it comes in stages. And for edification purpose, our present stage to do is become same as we heard in verse 3 of this chapter 14, which was become very dedicated to the topics of Krishna. By that dedication of topics to Krishna, purification, this anartha nivritti process is made possible. And then, as the cleansing goes on, that's, we worship these messages. We dedicate ourselves to these messages, the Bhagavatam's messages of relationship with Krishna. Now, the Bhagavatam is not just 10th canto, the Bhagavatam is 12 cantos. But they're all helpful in taking that cleansing process seriously, understanding the truths about Krishna or Hari carefully. So as that cleansing goes on, then in that more cleansed condition, there will be a natural attraction for a certain mood of service to Krishna. And then even further, a particular devotee in that category of devotion to Krishna, one develops some affinity for such a devotee. And then comes an inner contemplation along with the continuing of the external vidhis of sadhana bhakti. In addition, another layer is an internal cultivation of attraction for a particular ragatmika bhakta. First there's categories, and then there's particular ragatmika bhaktas. And it awakens naturally. And there is something that one will do, and that's this internal raga, nuga. Raga, anuga means a follower, and one becomes a follower of the ragatmika personalities. In due course of time, let's get cleaned up first. As that cleaning goes on, it becomes the stage of nishta where anarthas are almost gone. Then these other stages will follow naturally or automatically. But there are things that one will do. But it'll be natural. And one is to receive some guidance on how to apply all that, just like guidance on how to apply the vidhis of sadhana bhakti. Is that all right? In due course of time.
Hare Krishna. So my question is about the one clarification before the question. When we say Vrajavasis doesn't know the greatness, what from the Brahma's words, so the sweetness is more overpowering. So, but my understanding is that they are aware of the Krishna's greatness, but it's covered by Yogamaya. Is that?
They're aware of Krishna's greatness, but they don't equate that greatness is that he's the source of everything, he's the personality of Godhead. They have different ways of processing his greatness. One of them is he's receiving the fruit of Nanda Maharaj's pious activities. He's being protected by Nanda Maharaj's pious activities. Another is, Gargamuni said this child will be invested with powers like Narayan. So he's got some powers from Narayan. And others, just like Cowherd Boy specifically, he's just fun. Somehow, they don't bother themselves with who is he. It's just he's fun, and they're feeling completely safe. And so they do all kinds of things. And if there's some difficulty, they call Krishna's name, and he takes care of it. And then they go back and play. And so there are different ways of processing his almightiness. But yes, it's all in a large category. It's Yogamaya. So, and sometimes you just forget. He shows, they want. He shows, and they forget. They just forget. Or like how Mother Jasoda processed seeing the universe within Krishna's mouth. This, that, the other thing, the other thing, the other thing. Yogamaya took over.
For us to, for anyone to get there, or for us to get there, to the spiritual world, one might not need to know all the details about it, but one has to know at least the greatness of the Lord.
Well, the details help to get clarity as to the greatness. Prabhupada put it very simply. In religion that's theistic, God is great, but how great he is, that they do not know. So knowing some of the details of the greatness, it stimulates service. You serve the great. How great is he? And you explain these greatnesses to somebody from this religion or that religion. It's over their head. They can't relate to it. So that is, they don't know the greatness. He's the creator, and that's about as far as it goes. In one day, he just said this, and it was, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, so the reason I was asking Maharaj that one, from somebody acting sentimentally, knowing Krishna is the Lord or Supreme Lord, to some extent knowing some details, may not be all the
That's correct.
details.
That's correct.
So how do we, when we see those things, especially in close members, how do we act? How do we help them?
Assist, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. We can go to one of the far ends, and that's the Brahmana and Srirangam who is illiterate. And if love for Krishna is there, that's perfect. So how we can help those that don't understand some of those details depends on the person. We don't want to scare them away or, have them feel that we're talking down to them or something like that. It very much depends upon the heart of the person, how you can help them. You give them some of Prabhupada's books so they can read, or read together with them or discuss or something. Take a point. It depends on the person. Take a point and massage the point a bit, depending on the person and their heart, their faith, their inclinations. Some people just like service, so give them some service. And as that purification goes on, then the desire to understand Krishna more completely. So, depends. If you're really tuned into the mood of not converting people, but compassionately extending bhakti to them, then Krishna will progressively give intelligence how to do that.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Listening to this, I'm just feeling so fortunate that you're back here and and back to the the sweetness section.
Yeah, I'm especially thankful for that too.
So Maharaj, in Canto 2, as we were reading, there was one section where Prabhupada in the purport talks about people often want to listen to the pastimes as opposed to the cosmic creation and all the complexities around it. However, to understand the pastimes, one has to be very advanced, I think is what he says. I couldn't find it right now.
Okay, I get the idea.
But he says that the materialistic people seem to understand the creation aspect better, I think is what he said, because it kind of is in line with the material mindset that and the building and all that. We kind of seemed to feel like that was a little too much for us, though. So I was wondering.
What's the question? I get the background. What's the question?
How does that match what we are
feeling? How does that match what we're following?
What we are feeling, which is, that cosmic creation and all that was just...
Different people are different, even amongst ISKCON devotees. Some people are more attracted to this and some people are more attracted to that. How does it match? It depends on your orientation. Some people, I know some people that they're very, they like the sweetness, but they really get immersed in the details. No, different natures. They can spend hours and, deeply absorbed in sorting out the details. Not just like meeting a challenge, my intelligence can't understand this, let me see if I can hone up my intelligence a little bit and understand better. And there's perhaps some of that, but some people it's their nature. They're inclined in that way, and so it's there. Our acharyas, they really get into it. So it tells us there's something substantial here. And our acharyas are attracted to the whole range because it's Krishna. So how did it relate to us as devotees? We have different natures. Is that all right?
I can definitely see how having some understanding of that greatness increases our appreciation.
Yes, and as one progresses, that is to say, as consciousness becomes less covered, more clear, then the greatnesses in all sides become more palpable. Look at what one of the principal strategies of our founder Acharya was the BI, Bhaktivedanta Institute, the PhDs dealing with scientists, because intellectuals rule. And misguided intellectuals misguide the world in an atheistic way. So it was very important to him. And then the TOVP is, that's not the essence of, but it's a cornerstone of the Bhagavatam. It's where empiric information can be displayed from the Vedas. Here's the model. With spending millions and millions and millions and millions and millions. Because people are more interested in that than they are in hearing Krishna's pastimes. And if they take wow, this is credible. Or it's like, this is fascinating at least. Many people will go with their weapons to try to attack it. the model. And get involved in the Vedas. Get involved. Right now, they're not getting involved in the Vedas at all. So it attracts people that have a certain disposition. And it's part of the Bhagavatam. It's a major part of the universal form is a major part of the Bhagavatam in several places. It's the first topic when Shukadeva Goswami speaks. Canto 2, Chapter 1. Then again, and then again, and then again, and then again. So it's really got to be important for us, not just for people who are Gyanis. It's important for us to get. It's not easy to understand. We're easily puzzled and, not so attracted.
This question is from Snehavalli Mataji. She has 2 related questions and 1 unrelated question. First question. In Lord Brahma's prayers, Jiva Goswami gave a list of verses indicating Kevala Bhakti, Jnana or opulence, etc. For verse 13, he initially mentioned that it indicates a mix of Jnana and Bhakti. And later he said it indicates Dasya Bhakti. I'm not able to identify Dasya element in verse 13. If you could please help me identify that.
This is a real detailed question, and I could go, how about this? Send to me, and I'll send back to you an answer. But can you do it after the weekend? Because I'm locked in for this Govardhan seminar. So send it on Monday, if you would. This text 13 question you're asking. Send it to me and I'll respond.
The second question. In case of Roma Harshana Sutta, Lord Balaram mentioned that he is from Pratiloma heritage.
Yes.
In case of Vidura, his mother was a Shudra, but his father, Vyasadeva, was a Brahmana.
Yes.
So then, how can he even be called a Shudra at the first place?
Because in Vedic culture, the child is given the designation according to the mother.
Sri Radhika Mataji's question. Narada asked Dhruva Maharaj to go to Madhuvan to meditate. Was Vrindavan already revered as a holy dham even before Lord Krishna's appearance?
Oh, yeah.
This is from Rupa Vilas Prabhu. While reading how each of the queens of Krishna got married to Krishna in chapter 83, I felt a wow, how fortunate these queens are. So I'm thinking that by hearing the realization of devotees, we get to develop attraction for Krishna in their mood. Is this a part of the automatic process to transition from sadhana to spontaneous bhakti?
Yes. It's called, in Rupa Goswami's language, it's called, the Sanskrit word is udipan. And udipan means stimulation for ecstatic love. So yes, these are udipans. What you described is you're being stimulated in ecstatic love towards Krishna just by hearing about the circumstances and the love and Krishna's reciprocation and so forth.
I'm forgetting Prabhu's initiated name. It says Carlos. Wouldn't it be more effective at the time of preaching to
At
inspire
the time of preaching,
preaching to inspire through example than to convincing people by discussing, arguing, and deliberating our arguments based on the sacred books?
of course. But it doesn't mean, we're not interested in argumentation, but we are interested in making clear what tattva is. And it depends on the circumstance how one goes about that. Or even if one just doesn't go about it at all. But, we do want tattva to become understood, because otherwise, how are people going to progress? Tattva is there for a reason, to make progress.
Shri Radhika Mataji, the Naperville devotees are expressing happiness at your having returned. And we here in Chicago are missing your Vapu, giving us some faint reflection of an understanding of the sentiments of the devotees when Krishna returned to Dwaraka from Hastinapur and vice versa.
Hare Krishna.
Uttama Bhakta Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada mentions fallible and infallible souls. Those in the material atmosphere are fallible, and those in the spiritual atmosphere are infallible. Souls come and go. Can you please clarify?
Well, from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya perspective, those who are fallible can become perfect, thus not eternally infallible, but infallible beyond the errors of conditioned souls. One can become like that. That's it. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.